As the program reads, I was a fellow in 2007 and 2008. In a lot of ways, this is actually a very surreal experience for me, given the people that are in the room right now. But I've had the benefit of 8 years to continue to digest my time as a fellow at the Falls Church. I continue to be grateful for this experience and for the wisdom that was poured out on us. And I don't come to you tonight with any novel ideas or kind of crazy ideas, but really see myself as a product of this school. And I've had the benefit of the lived theology offered here. So John, Susan, Steve, so many of the people who have been so dedicated to these programs and its endurance over the years, thank you. We're in late April, right? You'll be graduating in a month or so, and I'm sure that you have hopefully much broader ambitions than dating one another. Some of you have been accepted to graduate school. Others of you will probably stay on at your workplace. Others will move home or away from home. But the point of this weekend is that you start well, right? In a way, I guess this is kind of a commissioning of sorts, that you will kind of go from here, from this veritable neverland that is the fellows year, and that you will move into the working world of your young vocation. So congratulations and good luck. I would even bet that many of you are used to such a transition. If your life was anything like mine, you did 3 years of middle school, then you did 4 years of high school, and maybe 4, 5, 6 years of college, who knows. And now this is your 1 year of your fellows experience, right? And I would imagine that these rhythms are going to continue on. You're used to the transition. And in 4 or 5 years, you'll probably get itchy again. It's 2016. That's kind of the way that things work, I've found. And I've found that these rhythms have caused doubts in the recesses of my mind. Doubts to commit to a place and a people, saying, well, I'll only be here a couple of years. Doubts to commit to a church for similar reasons from time to time, or regularly thinking kind of, what's the next move, what's next for me, what's afterward. A pastor friend once told me, treat everywhere you live as if it's permanent, knowing that it's probably going to be temporary. And I tend to think that's easier said than done, though I don't fully know what he actually means by that. But what I wanted to speak to you tonight, in the thread of combating loneliness, are the lessons that I've personally gleaned from intentional community. The first idea that I want to suggest is finding a community that will affirm your security in the eternal. Again, finding a community that will affirm your security in the eternal. I've moved twice since I was a fellow. The first was to a tiny town in rural Mississippi, then to Charlottesville, Virginia, where we now reside. These transitional themes have come and gone in my life. I feel them on and off. But in both places, I can honestly say that I've been really blessed by faithful friends who have done affirmational work in explicit and implicit ways in my life. Through these two moves, which have gone over about 6 years, I've lived, frankly, in some of the greatest and the most challenging seasons of my life. I've been a newlywed at that time. I've been a first-year teacher in that time. And again, there have been many highs and many lows. But the good news about all that is I've not had to labor in any of that alone. I think implicitly, our faith grants us a paradigm that promotes sacrificial love and sacrifice. I think that's lived out on a day-to-day basis in your communities, in your towns, in your churches, at your work. There's been nothing flippant or casual about the ways that people have loved me, and it's been notable. But explicitly, it's also been merciful and liberating when a good friend can speak into your soul. Frankly, even just this week, I've kind of had one of those really crazy, hectic, weird weeks where it's like both high stress, tension, and yet it also kind of creeps along. And, Wednesday night, over a good beer and bocce ball, I had a good friend grab me on the shoulder and just peer deeply into my soul and say, Blake, Christ is your life. And I can't tell you how much words like that mean to a weary soul at times. So, I think we live in a difficult, strange, performance-oriented time. I see that every day in my students. I see it every day in the culture. And I think we really need friends who are willing to speak the truth. I also think that you need to be willing to speak the truth to your friends. We need to listen. We need to offer encouragement. And we need to submit to the love and care of each other and to the Lord. The second idea that I want you to consider is not only maintaining your local community, which I think is incredibly important, but also your greater fellows community. And I'm not being paid to say this, but I actually mean it in so many different ways. So when I was moving to Mississippi, I knew one person and one person only. And it was due to actually a connection that I had from a gentleman who was a fellow the year after me. And that person, the one person that I knew, ended up introducing me to a church. And that church ended up becoming one of my primary sources of godly community and, frankly, a backbone in that first and second year in rural Mississippi. This is going to come as no surprise to my Trinity people down here, but when we came to Charlottesville, I also knew one person, Dennis Doran. So, actually, literally, we pulled into our parking lot with the moving truck. And there was Dennis, waiting, gym shorts, ready to pick some stuff up and move it. It was really, really helpful. But again, due to the fellows connection, we knew Dennis. And Dennis rekindled a relationship with a guy that I had met when I was a fellow, and he was a Trinity fellow. And that guy has, in fact, actually become one of my most faithful friends. So as you come to these conferences, as you do the Micah 6:8 conference and these, I would strongly encourage you guys to maintain these relationships as best you can. Put the Frisbee loss behind you if you guys still do that. But again, maintain these relationships because they are absolutely going to pay dividends later on. I would also say, and even more so, the connections that you make with your own fellows class has continued to be so important to me. I remain close with many of my classmates, and it has been rich to go through post-fellows life with them as it has been to go through, or as it was to go through current fellows life with them. There's babies, there's weddings, there's all sorts of life events that you really get to share with this group of people. So again, I would strongly encourage you to stay close there. And even more so than that, I would say stay connected with your host family, with your mentor, with your workplace. These are all people who have poured into your life very intentionally, and those relationships matter a lot. Anecdotally, my host brother, who was also my small group, was in 9th grade at the time when I moved in. So So he was in 9th grade. So last spring, my wife and I were actually fortunate enough to go up to West Point to go to his graduation, which was also a treat. So he's about your age, some of your ages. But now he's actually stationed in Columbus, Georgia, which is about 45 minutes away from my wife's family. And so he's actually made a fantastic relationship with my in-laws. And so somehow this ninth grade kid is now hanging out with my in-laws at Thanksgiving, which is actually a real treat when my father-in-law fell out of a tree stand when we were at a football game. And he was there to help out, so it worked out well. So, I have thought a fair amount about this talk and all the different things that I've wanted to say, and I hope that my communication to you is just that the centrality of community, as Kate said, is just so important as you start well, as you move into your young adult life. Also, in my preparations for this talk, I watched several of the previous conference speakers. One also that I want to point you in the direction of, Mark McComas. Okay. Yeah, his speech last year really resonated with me as well, and specifically, he talked about being a creator community, not just a consumer. I found his thoughts to be wise and so helpful, because not only do you need a community, but a community needs you as well. A community out there needs you, they need your talents, they need your wisdom, they need your faith. It needs your implicit and explicit affirmations, and it needs your heart. I didn't bring a prop. We were kind of told to bring a prop. It's not quite here yet. So recently, I've actually had the privilege of telling my community that my wife and I are expecting. So both terrifying and exciting at the same time. But this is such a unique experience for me, being able to kind of go there with a community of people, and has been so rich and so gratifying in so many ways. But I think of the world that he or she will grow up in. I think about what they will be about, what their life will be about, and I look out in this group of people. I think about institutions like the Fellows Program, and frankly, I have a lot of hope and a lot of encouragement. I believe that you're going to make your towns better. I think that you are going to love your neighbors well. I do think that you all will go forth, that you are going to combat this age of loneliness, and that your intentional pursuit of community will really pay dividends. I thank you for your time, my brief remarks. May God bless you on your endeavors as you start well. Thanks.